Toad Freaks! Welcome to another episode of Toad Quest. Marco De Leon here at the Mix Machine Studio. And today we are going to talk about how I record electric guitar using my guitar, amplifier, and microphones. No amp simulators here. So let's get on it. Okay, first of all, I'd like to stress that using amp simulators it's good, because it's very convenient. You get a lot of choices. You don't need an amp. You can record silently. You can record on headphones. You're not going to disturb anyone. If you don't have a treated room, it's very hard to record electric guitar using an amplifier with microphones. And I get that completely. But somehow I just can't seem to use amp simulators. There are a lot of people I know who are great when they use amp sims, like Joko Orientaso, Chris Buenviaje, just to name a few. And I'm not one of those guitar players. I can't use amp sims. Like, for the life of me, I just don't sound good on amp simulators. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's a feel thing, but that's my choice. So I always record my electric guitar every time with a tube amp, a good old tube amp, a guitar, and some good old microphones. So before I walk you through my gear, I just like to stress the advantages of recording with a tube amp and microphones and a guitar. First of all, you really get a really good 3D sound out of it. Just like when I record drums, I try to get a deep sound, even though I don't need that kind of big sounding drums. If you have a deep sound, it's easier to cut the depth than to add it because it's naturally there. Same with electric guitar, and that's why I have four mics, because they do something. Each of them has a purpose, so they're not just like, oh, paramihan ng microphone, let's put in a lot of mics and it's gonna sound better. No, it's not like that. Each is purposefully placed there according to what I need with my guitar work. Okay, so yeah, I'll be selling these guitar loops as well online, so you can check them out. So yeah, I'll walk you through my gear. Okay, for my electric guitar recording rig, I'm gonna use two guitars, Fender Telecaster limited edition thin line, and a 1978 Gibson SG, my go-to guitar. And for amps, I'm going to use a PV Classic 20 for my modern clean sounds, and maybe some overdriven sounds as well. And also, I'm going to use my vintage Maestro GA16 Viscount. That's from Gibson also. Maestro is their their electronics company during the 60s. That's a 1961 amplifier and some pedals that I'm going to use. Exotic effects, of course, for my main overdrive. Full drive 3 for the boosting and whatnot. A mini wah. One of my most precious pedals, Ibanez Pan Delay, which I love this thing. Oh, wow, a Moore. I have a Moore slow engine right here, which I'm not going to use for this recording. Okay, so for miking my electric guitar, I'm going to use 4 microphones, and it's because I want to get a blend of what I need for each song, right? So these guitar loops, what I'm going to make, will be out in the market, and I'm going to export them in stems or tracks, and that you can choose and blend with so that you can get the sound you want. So first up, the classic SM57 right here. Okay, let me just adjust the ISO of this so I can see that better. Oops, okay. So SM57, a little bit off center on the cone because I'd want a direct sound, but I don't want to get the shrillness of the sound too much, right? So I just put it off center a bit to the cone. This is the speaker. This is the speaker right here. It's a 2x12, so the speaker is at the right side. And what I want to do is just get a bit off axis sound. And this is the speaker cone right here. This is the middle of the cone, and then I'm just going to, yeah, I just mic'd it a bit like that. And this is a vintage 30, by the way, by Celestion. So this is a very, very nice sounding um, mid-rangey kind of character speaker. And yeah, very, very nice sounding. I love the sound of vintage 30. The other speaker on the other side of the cabinet is a Celestion also, but it's a Celestion greenback. um, I like the sound of this one, but for the direct sound, I prefer the vintage 30. But this also, the greenback contributes a lot to the overall sound as well. All right. So moving here, we have the oldest trick in the book, using an LDC for a semi-room sound and semi-distance on the against the SM57's direct sound. But don't get me wrong, this captures a lot of direct sound as well. My room is treated, so I won't be having a lot of reflections and a lot of um, room sound anyway. So semi-treated. I wouldn't say it's completely dead. Okay, the room isn't completely dead. I have diffusion here. Yeah, some hard surfaces still, because I don't want a dead room. It will take away a lot of energy in your recording, so I really don't like a dead room. Who wants a dead room anyway for recording? Some people though. Some people do. Anyway, yeah, so LA320, this is by Lauten Audio. My go-to mic as of late, and I've been using it for everything: vocals, drums, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, you name it. So this one is pointed at a 45-degree angle to what the SM57 is miking. So I'd like them to have that character of the vintage 30. It's also getting, in its off-axis, some of that greenback, which I also love. Okay, so it's getting two speakers. The direct sound, I mean the vintage 30, almost directly at pointing at the speaker, and on the on its side, on its off axis, it's getting some of that greenback, Celestion greenback speaker. It doesn't have to be Celestion greenback or Celestion vintage 30. You can have normal speakers or normal guitar speakers, and it will still sound really awesome. Okay, if you have an untreated room, I suggest that you move your LDC closer so that you won't get too much of your room if it's untreated. Okay, let me just position this just a bit better. Okay, it's kind of pushed back. Okay, there you go. All right. Okay, let me just. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay, for now, and then my secret sauce are these two microphones here. And I'd like to thank Noni Martinez for pointing me at this kind of technique. Thanks, Noni, of Noisy Music. This is like the Friedman technique, I think, of getting an accurate sound of your cabinet. Makes perfect sense. You got two ears, and every time you play guitar, your ears are not directly pointed, or are not directly, your speaker is not pointed directly at your ears. So this is very, very practical. Also, look, I will always use a stereo pair for this, because of what I want to capture. A lot of misconception on the SDC, on the small diaphragm condenser or pencil condensers, that they don't capture bass, they don't capture enough bass, and that's just completely wrong. These guys capture really good bass response and very accurate bass response at that. I mean, these guys sobrang ganda ng pagkuha ng bass, especially on the transient type of bass sound. It really captures it fast, and it really gets an accurate sound out of it. People think that SDCs are thin sounding. Of course, they're not. They just capture treble sound fast as well because of their nature. They have a small diaphragm. They capture a lot of treble as well, but doesn't mean that they are thin sounding. Okay, they're more accurate sounding than LDCs if you really compare them with their sound signature. Okay, all right. So they're stereo pair, angled around 45 degrees as well, just at the top, and this is pointing directly to my ear. This is the angle that I have on my ear when I'm sitting down. So as I sit down, let me sit down. Okay, when I sit down right here, okay, okay, this is at an angle where I'm hearing the guitar cabinet, and by using these two, I really get a very, very, almost perfect, accurate representation of what I'm hearing. And I wouldn't say perfect, accurate representation, pero you get the picture. It's more accurate than the SM57 and even the LDC or the LA220 put together. This will get me a good, accurate sound. Okay, later we're going to see here what these guys do and what this guy do and what this guy does and what this guy does for your sound, and all of them together. First, we're using the Telecaster. I won't be able to shoot the SG because the SG I'm using exclusively for the Maestro vintage amp. Maybe in another episode. Okay. All right. So let's talk about preamps. For interface, I'm using my trusty Fireface by RME. Very reliable, and my SDCs are hooked up directly to it. Okay, no external preamp. And then for my SM57, it's in channel 2 of my Neve Type Worm audio, and channel 1 handles the LA320. Okay. as you can see, I recorded just a few phrases. One with clean and then with semi-driven tone, and that's the two sounds I'm going for when I release these guitar loops online, so you can purchase that. I hope you like this episode. I hope it sheds some light to how guitar recordings could sound better with amplifiers or not. It's up to you. And I'm not dissing on people who use the amp simulators. I just can't use it for the life of me. I get what you call optionitis all the time. Every time I try to choose an amplifier, I just go berserk when I'm choosing an amp simulator. So yeah, um, other people like me, old school, the old school way. Other people like you guys or a lot of you guys, amp sim, a lot of great amp sims out there anyway. So if you want mixing, mastering, or arranging or recording, um, we have a link down below. All right, thanks, Marco Roboto of Tone Quest out. I'll see you guys soon.